Well, welcome everyone. I am so glad that you're here with me this week. I am Dara and I am the host of Design to Win. I am glad that you're here with me today. Normally, I am not recording where you can see my face on my podcast, but this week I have a host with me. I have a guest with me, and this guest happens to be my youngest daughter, Jesi. Say hi, Jesi.
I
Jesi and I have been talking, and we're talking about how far she has come in the last year and a half from where she was a year and a half ago. And we've been talking about grief and loss and how depression and anxiety comes along with that, and that can really cause you to have a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression. And that's been some of the things that Jesi has dealt with. And recently I lost one of my very dearest friends, and that's been hard for me, and I've been dealing with some of that myself. And so that's kind of how that conversation came about. And so Desi wanted to come on and talk about where she's at now compared to where she was about a year and a half ago, and how God has just really done a lot in her life and helped her. And I just feel like that maybe there's some of y'all out there that this could really help you, and let you know that you're not alone and you can get through all of that you're going through right now. So, um, we did a podcast in October um, of 2024, and Jesi kind of told her story, and where she was at that time in her life. And so we wanted to come back on here and kind of give an update of where she's at, and talk about her journey. So Jesi, I'm just going to let you kind of talk and about it, and then I may ask you questions or chime in a little bit, but you go ahead and start.
yeah, so I don't really like exactly remember what I talked about the last time I was on here. Um, but since October, it's been like a struggle with I had gotten diagnosed with severe OCD on top of the severe depression and anxiety that I was dealing with. And at the time when I came on here, like it was getting a little better because I was in therapy, but I was still like drowning with the OCD, and not really very many people knew, but it was like a day-to-day struggle. And it was basically like fear was completely running my entire life on top of the grief that I was dealing with. And it was just like a lot.
Can you explain? Because when people talk about OCD,
Okay, yeah.
they people don't people think it's just like you, or don't like washing. You have
Yeah.
to wash your hands a few times or
So
this or that. But explain to them what yours was like for you, because that's been a whole different thing that we've
yeah.
ever dealt with before.
So I honestly, there have been signs since I was little that like the OCD was there, but it didn't start getting bad until after my grandpa passed away and I was going through a breakup, and that's when like it really went downhill. So basically OCD, it is not just about wanting things a certain way and everything. It really is like OCD attaches itself to the things that are most important to you. So for me, my morals and my faith are like probably the most important thing to me, especially my faith with God. And I started getting attacked really heavily with like all these outrageous thoughts. Like one of them was like, well, what if like if you like the color pink, that means like you're gay. That's what my brain was telling me on a daily basis. And it like completely wiped the joy out of my life because pink was my favorite color and now it is again. But the OCD just kind of like started taking over everything, and it got to the point where I couldn't feed myself. My mom had to help feed me. She also had to help me take a shower. Like I could not do anything. It had completely taken
Explain
over.
a little bit of why you couldn't do that. It was like,
So it had like it's just fear. It's a fear run mental disorder, and my brain would tell me like if I didn't do certain things, then like either I was gay, or like if I didn't do this, I was a murderer or like a pedophile. It was just saying all these things to me. And it was awful. And so I had to start doing like these little things where with counting, so I had safety numbers, and if I tapped something 2 times, then like it was fine, and those thoughts weren't like it calmed the anxiety down. But then it like you may do that, but then the thoughts are just gonna come again, and then you have to do the cycle all over again. And it's just like an ongoing thing. And I don't really talk about like the thoughts that I have, but I feel like a lot of people struggle with that more than they know. And it's OCD, especially if it's like, well, if you don't do that, or if you touch the color pink, or if you blah, 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 and then you have to do this a number of times, then it means it's like it's really confusing, but that's what OCD is. And everyone, like anyone who has OCD, their thoughts are going to be different because it's based on like what the OCD attaches itself to, if that makes sense. And so for me, it was just those thoughts that I was having to deal with. But I know someone like her thoughts are she's terrified, like she'll convince herself she has cancer or something because, she doesn't want to lose her family. So it's just different
Super, super bad.
based on whoever it is. And you may be struggling with thoughts like that and you don't know that it's OCD, but that's exactly what it is. And if you let it, it will completely run your entire life. And honestly, that's what I was doing in October whenever I came on here. I don't know what I really said about the
You
OCD.
talked about, you didn't really talk about the OCD. You talked about your suicide stuff
Okay,
because you
yeah.
weren't really open
So
about the OCD at that time.
yeah, I'm a lot more open about it now because I'm not ashamed about it. It's something that I have walked through, and I'm sure other people have walked through. But around that time, it was like completely running my life. Like I wasn't living at home. I was living in the dorms in college, and like I was miserable every day. I woke up dreading the day because I was having to deal with this OCD that was like controlling everything. And I personally think it's like attack from the devil because it is. It's just he just uses your thoughts to try and take you down pretty much. And that's what was happening to me. And so I finally moved back home because I just could not do college. I was like, this is not for me. Like I can't, like I need to be home. And so then that's whenever she started like helping me and everything whenever I came back home.
Yeah, I was literally when you came back home was having to help you wash your hair or take a bath at night. Um, yeah, for
Yeah.
you to eat certain things. I mean, you couldn't wash your laundry,
No,
you
I could
couldn't
not
do
do
anything.
anything. And it like no one wants to live like that. Like my entire life had just got taken away from me because of the thoughts that I was having in the OCD and everything. And so after like Christmas, I was still struggling really badly,
Mhm.
and it just kept getting worse at the beginning of the year. I was really having a hard time, and so it got to the point where I was debating attempting suicide again because I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like I rather just be with God than have to deal with any of this anymore. And it got to that point and it was really, really bad again. And I think it was like in April. I was crying in my room because the thoughts were just torturing me from the OCD so much. And it was a mixture of the thoughts and grief and pain and just all at once just attacking me. And I like couldn't breathe. And I was laying, like, I was just sitting on my floor crying my eyes out. And I called my mom
Mhm.
to come in there because I was like, I don't know what's happening. I'm starting to panic. Like, I feel like I'm about to die. That's what I felt like. And so she came in there and just started praying over me and everything. And I think I moved to the bed and I was laying on the bed and she was still praying over me and started praying in tongues. And I started throwing up.
Mhm.
Like, actually, I was like, "Ugh, ugh." I could not control it and it wasn't me. And I think it's just because she was praying like demons out or something like
I was
that.
praying over you that anything that was attached to you that was causing you to have this OCD, have all these thoughts, have all this come against you, that it stop in the name of Jesus,
Yeah,
because the Bible says that nothing can come against us, and that Jesus died for us on the cross for us not to be sick or not to have disease or not to have illness, and you have dealt with that your entire life
yeah,
with sickness and illness.
yeah.
And so
I've
it,
also dealt with like really bad depression
mhm.
since like I was probably 13, and I've always had anxiety like that. I've had anxiety since I was little. That's been something that I have been attacked with for a very long time. It just has gotten progressively worse the older I've gotten. But now it's not like I'm not really anxious really ever anymore for
We'll
the most
also
part.
talk about one of the things, even after I prayed over her that night and she started feeling some freedom from it, one of the things she was still kind of having this up and down anxiety. And she had had some discussions with some of her college friends, and they talked about the anxiety that comes from some of the social media stuff. And a lot of kids are on
Yeah,
Snapchat and TikTok,
I
and
don't,
people think it's great and it's okay and it's fine. And there's lots of controversy over that. But for
yeah,
Jesse, you share
I've,
what you find, because the Lord
so,
told me at one time about a year ago, and I went in and told her that she needed to get off TikTok
yeah.
and that it was causing her
Honestly,
some problems.
whenever
And she,
she first came in and told me that, I was like way too attached to the social media to like get off of it because then I was like, what am I gonna do with my free time? What am I gonna do if I don't have that? Because I didn't have a job at this time either, and I wasn't running a business. So I was terrified to get off of social media because I was so attached to it. And one of the things I deleted Snapchat probably after my birthday, I think somewhere in there. And I didn't realize how much anxiety it was giving me until I deleted it. And then I've like so much anxiety went away. But it's just the anticipation that you have from whenever someone snaps you, and then if you're left undelivered while they're active, and all this other stuff that is useless, that's not bringing value to your life. And I didn't realize how much anxiety it was causing me until after I deleted it. And I'm not attached to it anymore. I'm perfectly fine without having it because I know the people who need to contact me have my phone number and they can contact me that way. And the biggest one that I've still struggled with like letting this one go is TikTok, but I think TikTok is it is one of those apps that you get exposed to everything on there, and I wouldn't have kids on there. I wouldn't even have anyone on TikTok. I think it is not good for you. It's not good for your mind because what you feed your mind, you're feeding your soul, and it's just not it's not healthy for anyone because all it does is then you end up laying in bed all day, and that feeds into your depression and anxiety. Then you get nothing done. You have no motivation. It feeds into all of it, and then like you may be struggling with OCD like I am, or sorry, not I am. I was struggling with, and it's just gonna make it worse. And it was making everything worse for me. And so I had one of my close friends, he told me like, well, why do you still have it if it's not bringing any value to your life except for anxiety? And I was like, yeah, you're right. You're right. So I deleted it. But sometimes I still download it back because like for pictures or something like that. But for the most part, like I keep it deleted because I know for myself personally, I do not need to have that along with Snapchat or anything.
it's kind of like it's like being a drug addict in a way. It's an addiction, and people don't realize how much that sucks you in. And you don't realize also that when you're scrolling on Snapchat or TikTok, where a lot of the kids are, and I mean, even adults do this on Facebook, you don't realize how much you're comparing yourself to other people on TikTok or Snapchat or whatever social media you're on. You're watching other people, you're comparing yourself to other people's lives, you're getting anxious and worried and concerned, and all this fear comes because of all the negativity that might be on
Yeah.
there, all the things that are just feeding into your brain. And like she said, she's realized that if you don't feed something positive into your brain, and it's against your values also and what you believe, then it's not being productive for your life. It's being
Yeah.
destructive for
Yeah.
your life.
Honestly, I'm like really careful about what I watch in general now, like especially with TV shows or anything like that. I'm very careful about it. Most of the time I try to keep myself busy so that way I'm not sitting around watching movies or TV shows all the time that I don't need to be watching or that no one needs to be watching because like I really believe what you feed your mind, you feed. like you feed your soul. And
Mhm.
I just like would rather have stuff that's gonna help further my relationship with God or like make me happy and not give me so much anxiety when I'm watching it. But back to when I was struggling in April, after that whole night, whenever I was throwing up and everything, I was fine, but I was honestly still really struggling really bad. And I think this was the devil really attacking me because this is when I started really like considering opening my own dance studio. And I was like getting attacked real bad with like these thoughts and everything. And I like again, there was another night. I've had this problem. Like I'll start panicking if I am in my room too long. I don't know why. It's just happened a couple of times. And this had happened this night. I was like panicking really bad being in my room, and then it just made everything worse. And then the next thing I know, again, I was crying on my floor, like hyperventilating, fighting for my life to get air, and my brain was going 1,000 miles per hour and everything. And then she had to come in there, and again, she was praying over me, and I'm just
Mhm.
crying. And I started praying, or not, oh, I was praying, but I also started playing this song, Give Me Jesus. And I just kept singing, Give me Jesus, over and over and over again. And I started to calm down
Mhm.
because I could feel like his presence in the room, and I just like immediately started to calm down. But I was still really badly struggling with suicidal ideation, and I don't think really many people know that. I was like during this time a couple months ago, I was still struggling really badly with not wanting to be here because everything was just coming at me and I didn't feel like I had a purpose, and like I just didn't want to go through this anymore. And so I had texted he's my big brother. He's my cousin, but I call him my big brother. I had texted Bubba, and it was one word, and I had texted him that I was like not wanting to be here anymore, and he just said persevere. And at first I was like, what are we doing? I'm over here telling you I don't want to be here anymore, and you're gonna text me persevere. Are we for real right now? And then I texted um Kelson, who's one of my friends, one of my really close friends, and he basically just told me like I am stronger. Mom, like you're kidding me right now. We thought she messed up. Anyways, so I had texted my friend Kelson, and he basically told me like I really am stronger than the thoughts that are coming in my head, and I need to like stop anticipating for them to come and just pray to God. And he told me God has way more in store for you than this, and like I need to keep going. And so them too, because they're really important to me, those words like they ended up holding so much weight to me that it helped me to be able to change my mindset completely, which, God uses other people that are really, really
Mhm.
important to you to do that. And for me, that's my big brother and Kelson. And so with those words, I have completely like just done a like 360. I really have. And I like have so much more joy now because I know that like Jesus is the only one that has control over my mind, and
Mhm.
these thoughts may come, but they're from Satan. And I'm just like at this point like get out of my ear. I don't want to hear what you have to say. No, no. That's what I think in my mind. I'm like get out. But I pray every night before I go to bed. I'm like, Jesus, you are the only one that has control over my mind. You're the only one that has control over my body, my soul. You're the only one that has control over my life, no one else. And I just like, I pray that. And then I thank Jesus every night for my healing because I am healed. I have been healed of the depression. I have been healed of the anxiety. I have been healed of the OCD. And so I thank him every night. I thank him every day. And I have so much more joy than I ever have since I was little. And like, I truly am doing better. But one thing I still struggle with is grief. And I think that's something that like, I don't know that that'll ever go away. It's
Well,
not,
tell
it
me a
won't be
little
as heavy.
bit about the grief well, and I agree with you. I think that grief is something, even though Jesus tells us that we have a time to grieve, and then we have a time that we needed to go on. And as humans, I think that's hard for
Yeah.
us to do that because the people that we grieve,
Well, I
that we've
think,
lost, are not there anymore. And so that's
yeah,
hard. And then when things come up in our life that we want them to be there for or be a part of, and they're
I think it's
not,
just like it becomes less heavy,
yeah, it
honestly.
becomes less heavy.
I
That's a
like
good,
grief
yeah.
is just some like you just have a bunch of love and it has nowhere to go anymore. That's what it is,
Oh, that's a good, I like
basically.
that. I like that.
And for me, like, since I was 17, after my first suicide attempt, I lost both of my grandmas. I'm sure I talked about this 2 months apart from each other.
Yeah.
And that was like really, really hard for me because like they were my entire childhood, especially my grandma Rabia, and to lose them so close. I was still healing from my suicide attempt and my toxic relationship, and then I lost them, and I was
And then
like,
you lost Gigi.
yeah, and then I lost my soul dog. That dog was like always there whenever I'd have an anxiety attack or something to cuddle me. And so I lost her 3 days before my 18th birthday. And that was 2 months after I lost my grandma Revia. And so in the span of 1 year, I lost two people and a dog that were like also important
And
to
then you
me.
lost your grandfather.
Yeah, and then in 2024, I was dating someone who I really, really loved. And then I lost my grandpa, and then we broke up in January, and then I started dealing with the OCD stuff. And so I still had all of this grief from my grandma's, my dog, and then my grandpa, all just like compacted into one. And I was struggling. And that's when I really like debated attempting again. And then that's when I attempted on Mother's Day last year when I was 19 in
Two
May.
years ago.
No, it was last year, Mother.
Okay.
It was last year in 2025.
Oh yeah, it
We
was.
just passed the
Yeah.
1 year.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the grief was like, it's just heavy and it sucks. And it's like all this sadness and anger and every emotion that you can possibly feel. That's what grief is. And it's like something that is so hard to carry. But what I've learned, it does become lighter. And I've just had a different mindset when it comes to all of it. Like I am so thankful that I got to know my Mima. I got to know her beautiful smile and her laugh and everything. And I'd like to think I have her smile. I got to know her. I got to know my grandma Ravia and like all the memories I have with her and like my cousins and everything. And my dog Gigi, she would always make me laugh whenever I'd be like sad or something. And my grandpa, my Mr. Lee, he is the one that like introduced me to riding horses and everything. And so even though it's like really hard to think of all those things because it may hurt because you're like, well, they're not here anymore. My grandmother's every single one of my grandparents missed my high school graduation. They missed all of that. They've missed a lot of important milestones, but I know that they're so proud of me watching me
Mhm.
up in heaven. I know they are. And I just am so thankful that I got the time that I did with them. I got to love them. They got to love me. I have all of the memories that I have with them. And same thing goes for like relationships with people. Like I'm so thankful for my ex-boyfriend. He taught me a lot and the love that I got to experience was amazing. And like, I don't know, just being thankful to get to have those memories with people, it does help a lot with the grief. Even though it may
Mhm.
be really, really sad at the time, it does help a lot to just be like, well, I'm thankful that I got to have that time with them and I got to love them and experience that love because loving someone is never a waste. It isn't. So that's what's really helped me to navigate the grief and to be able to like just live because I know that they're still here with me and they're definitely proud of me and everything. So,
And what would you say about going back to your suicide attempts? Because you've mentioned that a couple of times and you have struggled with that. And because that's something that's close to our heart because we've dealt with that and had to walk through that because even though she was walking through it, I was still walking through it with her as the parent and just seeing your kids struggle with that. And so but grief and pain and hurt and all those things are temporary. And
Amen,
that's
yeah.
what's hard, I think. And you've mentioned this before.
It is
When
really
you're in the
hard.
midst of it, it's hard to see that it's a
Yeah.
temporary thing, that the pain, the most important thing I think that Jesse did is that she realized she needed to reach out to somebody,
Yeah.
no matter who it is. And it
Honestly,
necessarily wasn't me, but she felt like she had somebody to reach
yeah.
out to.
That's probably was the hardest part for me because I used to never tell anyone anything that I was going through. I would keep it all to myself because usually like when I used to open up, I would either feel guilty, I would feel like a burden, I'd feel like people didn't care. It was all these things and it was really, really hard for me to do that. But um I started to reach out to people more and be more open about what I was going through. And you'll be
Mhm.
surprised. People will be there for you. Like when I attempted suicide for the second time, I texted Bubba and he immediately called me and was on the phone with me and was like, don't do that. Like, I love you. I need you here. Like, so many other people need you here. And then Kelson called me, and they were both there for me through that attempt, and they helped me walk through that. And then again in April, both of them were there for me again. And when I texted them, and this has happened a couple other times when I've gotten to that place, and they were there for me without a doubt every time, being there for me. And honestly, like I know there may be different circumstances for people where they may be in this spot and they feel like they genuinely don't have anyone. There's always someone there. God may put someone in your place. He may do that.
Mhm.
There's suicide lines to call. Like there's always someone. You just need to
Mhm.
be brave enough to reach out to know like this is not what you should do right now. You need to continue living because the biggest thing that's helped me is thinking about this is not what God wanted for me.
Mhm.
And this is why I'm still here because he has more for me. And I know like that may not hold weight, but if you really think about it, like if God was sitting next to you or Jesus, one of the two, if they were sitting next to you, what do you think they would say? And for me, I knew that they would be like, Jesse, this is not what I want for you. I did not want this for you. You're here for a reason and you have so much more life in you. And I also had to think about the people around me. That was my biggest thing because I've had to go to many funerals over the past several years. And I just had to think about my funeral and how many people would be so devastated that I wasn't here anymore. And that is coming from like, I didn't think that anyone would care whether I was here anymore or not, like genuinely. And then I had to really think about it. Like my siblings would be devastated, Bubba would be devastated, all my friends would be devastated, my parents would be devastated. Like
Yeah.
my dad would be heartbroken. I'm his only kid. She would be heartbroken. And I had to really, really think about that. And after I've experienced so much grief myself and what it feels like to lose someone so important to you, I was like, I can't do that to all these people that I love because that is a weight that I wouldn't want anyone to carry. And if I just decided to be and just take my life, and then they would have to carry that weight. And I would not want that for anyone, not after having to deal with all of that. And so, with that being said, just reach out or just think like how heavy of a weight that would be for the others around you, because I sure did not want anyone to have to carry that weight at all.
And I'm sure glad that she thought that. And glad that I really believe God gave her those thoughts. I really do,
Yeah,
because a lot of people don't think that way. But going back to what you had said a minute ago, you were talking about reaching out to people, or you'd be surprised what people will say. We had this conversation, I think this last fall, or maybe, I don't know, um, with your kinship group, but she has a
yes,
kinship group,
okay,
and they were
yes,
talking about they were opening up, and Jesse opened up about her
I
suicide
did,
attempt, and
I
most people
did.
didn't even know in her group that she had done that. And tell what you found
Yeah,
out when you opened
so
up.
yeah, that was a big step for me to open up to people like that, especially about the suicide stuff. But I just felt like I needed to do it. And come to my surprise, a bunch of people in my group had been in that position before. And they just were like lifting me up and were like, Jesse, like, you have so much more for you. You're over here talking about opening a dance studio. And I think God put that on your heart for a reason. And they just like they lifted me up and it was like a real bonding moment because you just like really realize like, wow, a lot more people are struggling with the same things you are. It's just no one is brave enough to talk about it.
And I
And
think that it gave you some insight to
it did.
go, wow,
Yeah.
we need to talk about this. People need to
We
talk
do
about this a lot
because
more.
I just don't think it's something that should be like you should beat around the bush. This is someone's life.
Mhm.
And if you're in that position and want to take your own life, like we need to talk about it. You need to talk to God. That is one thing that's helped me the most. Even though like you may not be able to hear him or you may feel like he's not there, he really, really is. And he showed up for me time and time again through the grief. He was sitting there when I was crying my eyes out when I lost all my grandparents. He was sitting there with me through every heartbreak that I've gone through,
Mhm.
every panic attack, all the depression. He sat there with me through every single thing that I've gone through, holding my hand and being there for me. I just had to open my eyes and actually realize that he's there because he has talked to me before many times. I like whenever I was a couple months ago, I was still doing a lot of the OCD stuff to try and like calm the anxiety down. And I just got this thought that popped into my head. Are you still doing that if I healed you? And I was like, oh,
She
oh,
came and told me that. She was like, I had a
yeah,
conversation with Jesus, and he goes, are you still doing that if I healed you? And that's very true because Satan does that. He'll speak to us and
yeah.
say, oh, you really weren't healed. You're still doing this or you're still doing that.
But
But
you have to stand on it.
you have to
And
stand
the
on it.
power is in your tongue. And I've had to learn that a lot. The
Mhm.
more I've started speaking positive things over myself, the more free I have felt since speaking, like, I am healed of the OCD. I really don't struggle with it anymore. I'm free for the anxiety, the depression. Like, I feel so, I feel like a fairy. I feel so light. I feel like, that's what I feel like.
I want to mention though too, there are some people that struggle with anxiety and depression, and it can be caused from hormonal
That
imbalances
too.
and things like that.
Yeah, that too.
And Jesse has had some struggles
I
with
have,
some of
yeah.
that.
I've like whenever I've gotten on my period, I've got really suicidal, like really suicidal on my period,
Yeah, and there's
and
some
it would be real painful. And I know that like for some women that is a hormone thing, and so I've done stuff to help fix that, and it's been a lot better for me too. So it's not
Mhm.
always caused from like I don't know, trauma or anything. Like sometimes it's caused by hormones and everything, but
It's a little
still,
combination
yeah.
sometimes of both, and people don't realize that it is. And Jesse actually had tried doing psych medications that they
Mm,
put you on and all that stuff, and it
mhm.
actually caused more issues
It
for
did.
her. But we did figure out that there are some things that for her hormone stuff, what
Mhm.
she had, and she also has a genetic disorder called MTHFR, and come to find out that's not as uncommon as we were originally told. And there are more people out there that do have it and have it's a problem with your folate. And if you have a
Yeah.
problem with your folate and your B12 in your body, it can cause you to have anxiety and depression, and it can cause you to have other things. And so
Yeah.
when we learned that and started realizing there's some things that she can do to help to navigate that, that also helped her as well.
Yeah.
But,
I just
I
want to say this. If you're in a spot like I was and you're letting the depression, the grief, the anxiety, the OCD, whatever it may be, you're letting it take over, I want you to sit there and think, what are you going to do to fix it? Because really, like, it is in your hands. You're either going to sit in it and let everything take over the anxiety, the depression, the grief, all of it. You either sit in it and let it take over, or you ask yourself, what are you going to do about it to fix it? And that's one thing that I asked myself. And I was like, I'm going to do all this to fix it. I started taking magnesium every day before I start my day and before I go to bed. That has helped me a lot. I've deleted social media. I've talked to God a lot more, but it is in your hands. And I know, like, whenever you're really sad and like you just don't want to do anything and you get angry and you're like, I don't care. I don't care. What are you going to do to fix it? What are you going to do to help yourself? Because people can help you as much. My mom tried to help me as much as she could,
Mhm.
but it was up to me whether I wanted to actually do something to help myself or not. And I know it may be like really, really hard because it is. It's so hard. And it wasn't easy for me. Like I have just now started to get a lot better, but it's because I had to decide for myself that I wasn't going to continue to let like fear run my life or let any of this run my life anymore. I had to do something for myself to
Mhm.
actually keep on living. And that's one of the hardest things that you're going to have to do, but I believe anyone can do it. I really, really do. Especially with God by your side, you can do it. 100%.
Totally agree with that.
100%.
I totally agree with that.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad that you wanted to get on here and talk about this because I think there's people out there that really needed to hear this. And if you are one of those that really needed to hear this episode, I'm glad that you listened today. And I hope that this um, ministers to you in a lot of ways, like what Jesse's hoping it does.
Yeah.
Um, before we get off, tell them exactly what you are doing now. You talked about how much better you are now. I want you
Yes.
to share
Okay.
what is going on in
So,
your life right at this moment. What's
so I, for one, I got moved up at work. I am now a server, which I feel like if anyone has ever known me personally, they're really shocked by that. But I am a server at a restaurant.
but that's a temporary job
Yes, that is a temporary
because
job. I now own a dance studio, and it is called Peace in Motion Dance Studio. The reason for the name is because I have found a lot of healing in dancing. I've been doing it since I was really little, and I think it is a gift from God for me to be, it
Mhm,
has helped me like walk through a lot and to be able to heal. I have done solos about stuff I've gone through. One of the ones that I've done is about suicide. I have done one
mhm,
about my suicide attempts, and around that time was when I was really suicidal, and it actually helped me to get through like that time of my life. And so I wanted to open a studio for people to be able to come in and be able to heal. Um, and what I mean by that is like whenever you're dancing, for one, obviously it raises your serotonin because you're doing something active,
mhm. Yeah.
but you're able to like tell your story. Or if you want to just come in and dance and have fun, that too. But I want to be able to have a space for people to, no matter what they're going through, they walk in and
Mhm.
they feel loved and they feel seen and everything, but they also like are able to get that healing through dance and have that community and that family that they absolutely need. And that's why I created the name Peace in Motion in the motion of dance. And so now we're here and I'm super, super excited.
Yeah, she's opening, it officially opens for classes September 1st.
6th.
September the 6th. It opens for classes
Yes,
September the
I'm so
6th.
excited. I have a lot of my babies that I taught the past 2 years coming, and I am like, I don't know, I'm just so, so excited.
Well, they're not baby, not all of
No,
them
they're
baby
not
babies.
babies. They're my children, but they're like they're older, but
Yeah,
they're my children.
yeah.
I'm really, really excited. I'm really excited to see what God does with that and see like how he uses me and uses my dance studio to help others. Um, Adults can come dance. You can be 90 and come and dance and I'll help you. I got you. But I just like I'm just so excited to see what he does, and I know it's gonna be so amazing. I just cannot wait. So,
I'm very excited for it too. It's very exciting as her mom to be able to see what God's brought her through and what he's brought her to right now
yeah,
and what he's going to do in the future with
yes.
her because this is her purpose. God showed me that a long time ago and I told her that and she said there's no way
Well,
I am
because I am the type of person I want to dance. I want to be on that stage, and I've always felt like, ew, like I don't want to be on the sidelines. I don't want to be a business owner. I want to be on stage. And then I've had a couple of my friends, my friend Langdon, like my friend Jade, like a couple of my other friends have literally, I've told them, well, I feel like if I own a dance studio, I can't dance. And they literally were like, why can't you? Like, why can't you go and be a part of a company and run your own studio? I'm confused. And I was like, oh, you're right. I can do that, and I probably will.
yeah, so she's she's on her way to doing that. We're really excited and really proud of her
Yes,
for all that she's
I
doing and
know.
where she's at right
Yeah,
now and
I
what God's
really
doing in her
hope
life.
that this shows you like you just got to keep walking through it because it does get better. It
Mhm.
really does. Like here I am now, all smiling and just really excited for what God has planned for me. Like I cannot wait. But also before we leave, I want to leave you with this scripture because this scripture has brought me through a lot. There's two. The first one is 2 Timothy 4:17. It's but the Lord stood with me and gave me strength. I have that tattooed on me actually, and I got this after my first suicide attempt, and that has really helped me a lot. But this other one is to what is it, 2 Corinthians 3:17? Very close. It's where the spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. And that right there has helped me so, so much because the spirit of the Lord is everywhere. And where he is, there's freedom. So I'm like, ugh, I just had to share that with you. Maybe it'll help someone because it's brought me a lot of comfort.
Well, I don't know what else I should say. I'm going to leave it at that because we want that to kind of resonate with everybody. So we're so glad that you could be with us today and hear Jesse's story and hear our story really. And please pass this on to somebody else. We hope that it will bless you and bless somebody else in the future. So thank you for listening and thank you
Yes.
for being with us. And we will see you next
Bye,
time.
guys.
Bye.